Welcome into episode 4 of Stick to the Script. My name is Nick Skrip, and I have my great friend since the 7th grade on the podcast today, Collin Taylor. This is again episode 4. The first 3 episodes went great. The first 2 with Anthony, the third with my buddy John. If you did not check those out, make sure you do so. Those are some really good episodes there. Collin, coming fresh off of walking the dog, man. Everything go okay with that?
Yeah, she was a great listener. She was definitely ready when I got home. So it was good to treat her to some outside air because she'd been home for like 5 hours because we have a dog walker that comes in when Deer and I are both working. So definitely helps out, but everything went fine. She peed a lot.
There we go. After work peeing. Collin and I have known each other for a long time. We've podcasted together a handful of times, but talking fantasy football for my P2W fantasy podcast. And that's great, but we're not talking fantasy football today. We got some good topics to talk about, to hit on. But I want to open up today's show with a little bit of an icebreaker here. Not that you and I need one, but maybe the listeners do. So here's my random question of the day to you. If you can go back in time and tell your childhood self one thing, what would it be?
So I thought about it, and
Which is good.
I was thinking about like a few different directions with it to go with it, but I kind of lean more towards like kind of how serious I took like sports when I was younger. Because like when I was younger, I kind of just did it. Every season, I would just play and just kind of like mess around, not really like take it too serious. Obviously, I took it serious, but not too serious. To the point where like I was always like making sure like my grades in school were good and like stuff like that. So I would just say probably take the things that you care about a little bit more serious. So then like it could have maybe put me on a different trajectory like when I got older. So I would say probably just take things a little bit more serious with school and like practicing outside of practice, like putting in like extra work. Because I mean, I would like obviously I wasn't just like never not playing, but I think there's some times where I could have done more probably and just kind of change things of how I grew up, I guess.
Yeah, I think people sleep on the fact that to be like you and I both played at a college level. We were good high school players, but I feel like some people kind of sleep on the amount of hours that the people that ended up elite at the sport, meaning maybe they played at like a Division I level, they played at a professional level, the amount of time that they spent outside of the practice field and the games for whatever sport. And it's easier said than done, now, looking back, and I can relate to the same thing. But also on the same note, like back in those days, and I'm a high school coach myself, which trying to push that only goes so far because as a teenager or a preteen or whatever the case is, you got all these other factors in life. You're growing up, you're maturing, you're introduced to girls, you got homework, like just little things here and there, and you're just nonstop learning about life and maybe not prioritizing the sport as much as you wish you could have at the time.
Yeah, because especially like me and you were kind of in the same boat. We're the oldest, so like we never really had like that like sibling direction. Like obviously
Yeah.
with parents is different, but like as you're growing up, you're not taught, but like you kind of just like rebel against what your parents say. And like so we never really had that like additional direction, like, yo, like you really should be doing this instead of this because XYZ. So like it's a little different than like how we grew up as opposed to like how I was able to help my brother out or like my sister out, like, hey, you should be doing this instead because I experienced this. So it's just
Yeah.
like almost getting that learning curve never really was there as much for us as I wish it could have been.
Yeah, I like the fact about the oldest sibling too, because like I'm thinking back to Dominic, and like out of nowhere he's watching me, he's watching Anthony, and it's like he didn't even need to be trained. He just like jumped on the soccer field one day, balled out, just knew exactly what to do, and he just had the presence of the older sibling just to learn from. I didn't take this question, and before I go, I do want to give a quick shout out to Triple M, my good friend. Who did a promo for this show, and there was a bunch of people commenting on Snapchat. They're like, who are you having on the show? Who's this girl? And I'm like, I'm not having a girl on the show. I'm having Collin on the show. It's just a promo, but shout out to Triple M there. But I didn't take this one as serious, I guess. I just started thinking. I initially thought if I were to go back in time to go meet my younger self, that I would for sure, like, let's say my younger self is like 8 years old or something like that. I'd like show up and wear a fucking like a Batman mask, just to like throw off the entire situation. Just like my 8-year-old self is looking at me. I take the mask off. I look at me and I'm just like in the Batman voice, the dark voice, just like, it's me. It's, it's Nick, and or it's you from the future. And one of the things I think I would tell my younger self is, this was a big thing. Like, I don't know if it still is this way, but there was a point in time where like a Charizard card was worth like like a couple $1,000, right? And I thought about that, and I thought about, this flashback to me giving away all of those Pokemon cards and then seeing on eBay how much they were worth. And that's one of the things that I thought to myself, man, tell younger self to stick those away. That way, when it flashes back to me being 30 or whatever, I have the Pokemon, I'm selling it, and now I got a shit ton of money for that instead of just giving it away. Not super serious. Could have went in a bunch of different directions there, but that's one. Also, I also Googled today, if you would have invested $1,000 in Amazon, I think it was either 10 or 20 years ago, you now would have $218,793 for that $1,000. So I feel like I would tell my younger self, like, tell mom and dad Amazon, just like, and shaking my younger self, tell them Amazon. I think the whole point of this is I would use my younger self to make more money for me right now.
Yeah, no, I thought about like the cryptocurrency road.
Oh
Obviously,
yeah.
like, not now because then I'd be broke.
Yeah.
But like when it first was popping off, like, man, can you imagine like putting in the Bitcoin when it was at like $100 a share, when it went up to 60,000 or whatever? Like, that would be unreal.
Yeah, but at the same point, like younger us would have had so many questions, and I would have been pissed off back then if my older self came back just to tell me to invest in Amazon and then just like dipped out, put the Batman mask back on and dipped out.
Like, I don't even know what that means.
I just
What's
like
an
go to sleep and be
investment?
like, it was the dream. It was the dream. So we kind of mentioned earlier, we talked about playing soccer. You and I played in middle school together at Droughton Point for Mr. Kelly. Obviously, great coach, great times there. Eventually grew up into being high school players over at Plainfield South, where I actually coach now. And I want to talk about that a little bit because I feel like you and I, kind of laugh about it now, the way we acted, the way we played. And I feel like it's a good point to bring up too, though, because I feel like we don't see a lot of that anymore. So just like a quick synopsis, then I'll kind of like, give it over to Collin. But you both play defense, right? We actually, we play club and things like that. But I distinctly remember in high school playing at the varsity level, playing defense, and we were like very mean. We were very mean. We both were extremely physical as defenders, slide tackling, like shoulder to shoulder hits, taking guys out, shit like that. But we also would talk shit to literally everybody on the field. Like it didn't matter who you were. You could have been the best player in the state, the worst player. Anybody who was like in our area, we both would just chew them out, eat them up. And I think to that now as a coach, and I'm not encouraging that at all, but that's gone. That shit does not happen anymore. Like, what do you remember about those times?
Dude, yeah, it was a battle out there every game, because like, I mean, you kind of, the way I had it, or the way I thought of it, is like you have to show that like alpha mentality. So then like these guys don't just like come through thinking they like shit sweet, and you can just like get past us or like do some like cute little moves and think it's okay. And like compared to nowadays, it's almost like society is like softened everybody in terms of like, oh, I can't hit him too hard because I don't want to like put myself in that position. But it's like it really it makes the other, in my mind, it makes like the other person think about it a little bit more. It gets in their head. I think getting in someone's head in a game is like an ultimate advantage, because then they start thinking different and playing different. But
Yeah.
like to your point, nowadays everyone tries to be like the flashiest person out there. Everyone is trying to be Ronaldo and just do all these moves and like not really kind of like bring that physicality to it.
Yeah, I think there is just like a toughness part of the sport that I'm not saying it's gone, and I'm not saying like, oh, like our era was so about this. I'm not trying to sound like the people comparing like, you know, Jordan's Bulls to like the NBA now and shit like that. But I agree with you because I feel like if you were a good player back then, and I'm not saying we mentally got to everybody, but I think we mentally got to a lot of people because it's not like we just went out there, hit people, and talk shit. Like we played good defense. And I do remember, I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure our senior year, we broke some sort of defensive record for least goals in a season or something like that, even though we like were not very good because we couldn't score goals. But that kind of goes to show you that, hey, we didn't get scored on like a lot, and we also brought something to the game that affected opponents. And that was, you know, if somebody said one small thing to you, I talk shit to them the whole game. You talk shit to them the whole game. If somebody, grabbed my jersey, we both went after them the rest of the game. And I feel like again, like you got to border that now because you got to be smart on the field. You got to make sure you focus on the game. But that piece of it, I wish I can like see that, at least that physicalness and the aggression and the I'm going to go out there and no one's going to get past me. I'm going to be the baddest dude on the field mentality because that goes a fucking long way.
Oh, it does. Like, it's not really something I like that can be, I would say, taught because you kind of just have like it's just like that saying like you guys gotta have that dog in you. Like that's it's just not something you'd be like, hey, you need to be a lot meaner, and then like it's just gonna like instantly work. Like I remember there would be times where guys would like tell me like, hey, this guy's like kind of like getting on me the whole game, like he's playing dirty, and then like they would like tell me like, hey, can you like hit him a little bit or like kind of like shake him up a little bit, and it just I'd be like, absolutely, I would love to.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Say
just
less.
like, yeah, it's just like, well, because I grew up loving football more than soccer, but like as a 5'8", 140 soaking wet high schooler, not much football was going on for me. So I was like, well, I'm gonna give soccer this go and see how I can uh how I can do with it. And like so I kind of had like a football mentality, but like playing soccer. So it kind of worked out because if you use your shoulders and you use like certain angles right, you can do a lot of hitting legally. And just a lot of players aren't ready for that because that's not really in a lot of people's bag. Like they don't really have that physicality along with their like finesse or whatever, their speed. Like and it's just it is what it is. And it helps a lot of people or it helps the defense, the midfield, the structure, and then it like I said, it gets in the other team's head to where like, well, if I like try to do this, he's just gonna like hip check me or shoulder me, and it just like it kind of messes with people a lot.
Yeah, I would say if back then if a forward, one of us um took the ball away from them, knocked them over, and called them a bitch. At the same time, like that just affects you during the game. But I also think that the fact that you and I were both doing that, the only two guys that I really knew that were to that extent of it, and we had each other's back. I think that's kind of what helped build our friendship through time. Just because, I mean, we both were on that wave. We both were about that life, playing wise. We both were passionate about the game. The school meant a lot to us, and I feel like that's why we are still friends to this day. And you stood up in the wedding that I once had, and I stood up in your wedding, which we'll talk about. I think yours is going to go a lot better than mine for sure. But I do want to talk also outside of sports now because obviously through time, through high school, through when we both went to college, after college, etc. We've had plenty of times hanging out, doing different things plenty of drinking stories too, and I wanted to touch on a couple, and I'll start things off. So I figured just to lighten it up here. I'll tell one story about you. You tell one about me, and then we can tell our own story about ourselves when it comes to drunk stories because I feel like that always comes with some entertainment. So first one, I'll go straight away into yours. So it was actually my bachelor party back in the day, which
I
was
knew
a
it.
lot of fun. A lot of fun and bunch of guys on the bus partying, pretty hard in the bus. I'm pretty sure you were chugging some stuff on the bus, right? If I'm not
Oh yeah.
mistaken. Yeah, you were chugging liquor on the bus. We go to Bourbon Street. Everybody's pretty lit up. I think you were very lit up at the time because you were drinking the liquor, right? And some of us were just straight drinking beer. We go to Bourbon Street, big ass place. We're partying, we're drinking, we're on the dance floor. You're on the you're on the dance floor with this one chick. I think she
We
has some
call it Bertha.
she had some tattoos. She was a little thick, and you were dancing with her. I come with my phone, and I'm like videotaping you. And the funniest moment, I still have the video, is you see me videotaping you. You got your hands like kind of by your waist, and you just like throw her out of the way, and you like put the hand down, like laughing about it and shit. You were hammered. You were absolutely trash, and just seeing you in that video, you can tell just by your eyes how drunk you were. And then on the way home, passed out on the bus. I think you had a bag. I don't know if you're throwing up in the bag or not.
In that bag.
Oh, you were throwing up in the bag. Slept at my parents' house. And I do remember the next day you like talking to my mom like loudly, like let Nick know, to hit me up about what's going on for today. And there was no way you were making it out that next day because you had a rough go on the bus on the way back. But I do remember like you and two other people were like absolutely dying on that bus trip back. But I'll always remember the pregame, you on the dance floor, and then the aftermath on the bus when it comes to that bachelor party.
Bro, that was literally top 3, maybe top 2 drunkest I've ever been. Like ever. It was literally the craziest like sequence of events. The whole video thing was hysterical because I'm pretty sure I was just like before that I was just like, hey, I'm gonna go up to this girl, watch this.
Yeah.
And
I probably like thumbs up, like, yeah. And I take my phone out, yeah.
Yeah, I look to my left and I see the light and I'm like, no, shit.
Threw her out of the way.
Oh, dude, like, because in the video you can see like her face, like just so like, shit.
She was into it too. I do remember that she was getting it.
And then after that, bro, I don't think I just stood up longer than 5 minutes at a time.
No, you were out. As soon as we hit the bus, I think you were out for the count.
I
Thrown up
think
there.
didn't they kick me out because I was falling asleep at the table or something?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure you got kicked out for falling asleep. John, who was just on the show, got kicked out for pissing in the kitchen. And another guy who was on the bus drinking hard liquor didn't even make it into Bourbon Street. He was so fucked up.
Oh, dude, I don't really remember the bus ride. I just remember I remember like being face down into a bag the whole time. I do remember that just because like all I saw was the brown bag. And I just remember when we got back, I just remember Colton and John just like I didn't really like see what happened, but I just like there was just so much commotion going on. I was just like, oh, what's going on? And then just like people were just screaming, you were freaking out. And it was
I was yelling at the wrong people.
Dude, and then because that was the last day I remember. And then the next thing was like you said, I woke up at your parents' house. It was like I think it was like 8 in the morning, just bright as shit. And I was just like, I didn't even remember how I got there. I didn't remember how I like laid down. I don't remember how I got into the house. And that was literally the worst hangover of all time. I like anytime I moved after I got home, I would throw up. It was like I couldn't even literally get out of bed. It was terrible. But fun, very fun.
It was good. It was good. It was good. End result wasn't the best, but hey, the bachelor party was good. But what comes? Anything come to mind for me? I feel like I've been drunk a handful of times in my life, so I feel like it's probably easy to name anything.
Oh yeah, I mean, I could. There's a few of them I was thinking about, but I think one of my favorite ones was an early one, like early, like high school early.
Oh,
Like you weren't really drinking all that much. I think I know. I think you know where I'm going with it.
I do.
And it was because like I had been like getting more so into drinking like further and further on high school went, and you weren't really drinking as much because you were better at not succumbing to peer pressure like me.
Yeah.
And I remember I brought you to a party at Brittany Markham's house, and was it Kate, like Pheasant Ridge or something?
Yeah.
That's when I was like just in love with Captain and apple juice. And I think that was like the first time that you had it. I like introduced you to it and like like telling you like, bro, like it's so good. You don't even taste like the alcohol, the liquor, or nothing. And like we were just hanging out at her house, just drinking, having a good time. And then like just kind of out of nowhere, you just were severely wasted. And you just for some reason, I don't know what brought it on you or brought it upon you or made you want to do it, but you're like, let's have a punch in the floor contest on the concrete to see who could hit it who could hit it harder. And you were like full out just punching the shit out of the concrete basement floor. And I was just like,
Like,
I
bruh.
couldn't believe like what you're like, what was going on. And it was just like so funny because it was just the most random thing of all time. And it was just like the best, like seeing you in that state. Cause like I said, at that time you weren't really like drinking like that. So it
Oh
was like
yeah.
a side I haven't really seen. And it was just hysterical at like what that state of mind like brought you to like what you wanted to do.
I truly think that might have been, or that was actually. I think that was the first time I was ever actually drunk, like drunk. And I do remember that. I do remember that like so well. I feel like I can picture the basement too. I have no idea why. Like that's the first thing that came to mind. I feel like there's probably like a lot of things that came to mind. Like one of them probably at the time was like, still I'm drunk, but I'm still not talking to these girls, so got to figure out something else. And just went to that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think that was the first time I was like very hesitant in high school early on to drink and stuff because I was like convinced that I was just like it was gonna ruin my like soccer career in college or some shit. Then I finally like eased up and stopped being a bitch about it. But yeah, punch the ground contest.
Yeah, like it wasn't the most like eventful like night and like the craziest thing, but it was just like the funniest, like most random thing you could have like wanted to do while being like drunk for like one of the first times. It was just like the way you were like you were punching the shit out of the concrete like as if it was a rubber floor. And it was literally no carpet, nothing. It wasn't a finished basement, just knocking this bitch out. And it was so funny.
Which is kind of like I feel I think back and I'm like, man, you know what? Probably was a bad look that it was a party you got invited to. You're like, can I bring my buddy Nick? And they're like, your buddy Nick's fucking punched the floor over there. Like,
Like
Jesus,
we think he's psychotic. We're not sure what's going on.
we're gonna let him go. He's not bleeding. He's good. He's having a good time. I think I was like laughing and stuff too. Psychotic.
Man.
So let's tell one of our own. I got a quick one of my own that I'll discuss, and it's super ratchet. So I'll admit to that. And you know what? Hopefully, stories like this, ratchet stories, bring in some more views and listens at the end of the day. We'll have a mix of everything on the show. But I remember in college, so I was like kind of talking to some girl, like kind of texting her from the girls' team. And I had like a history of talking to a handful of the girls from the team over where I played college at. Maybe one more than the rest, but still. But was kind of texting her a little bit that week, and she had a house party off campus, and I ended up going there with some of my teammates, and it was like the girls team, the guys team, some other athletes, and I downed a case of it's not strawberries, it's like the Bud Light version of those margarita drinks, but it
Oh,
was just like the regular kind. Because I know strawberries are like the strawberry kind. I forget what the regular kind was called. Oh, limeritas,
oh yeah.
limeritas. I downed a whole case of those like mini 12 like ones or whatever it was. And I was absolutely like shit face. And there was like so much sugar in there. Like it was like fucking me up. Like they're like 5 or 8% alcohol. And I was there like I said that we kind of texting somebody. And then one of her teammates was like talking to me like the whole time, at the house. And she was like shit, hammered too. And she tells me, hey, there's an there's an abandoned car wash next to the party. Let's go. And I look at her and I'm like, an abandoned car wash? And I'm like, absolutely. So we end up going over there. We're hanging out in the abandoned car wash that was just like it looked like almost like a giant shed. There was nothing in there. It was all gravel, kind of nasty. And while we're like hanging out and talking and doing whatever, that girl who's running the party literally walks out, looks at me, looks me dead in the eye. I'm looking at her while whatever's going on at the time down there. And she just like gives me a blank stare, walks away. And in my mind, I was like, I hope I can get my shit out of this party because I probably might not be let back in. I'm definitely not going to be texting her anymore because she's probably going to fucking delete my number. And then proceeded to do like disgusting things on like gravel and shit. It was just terrible. But I just remember that day, like going in thinking I'm going one direction, getting shit faced off of limeritas, which is like such a weird thing to get drunk on, and then doing like ratchet things in an abandoned car wash, which is a drunk story that I think I've only told a few people. So now anybody in the world that listens to this can hear it.
It sounds like it'd be a little painful.
I don't know. It's just very stupid that it was even like a thing at the time, but I blame it on limeritas at the end of the day.
I remember
But,
those things were hot back in the day.
They're kind of strong. They were kind of strong.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was like okay. I remember the big cans. Now I can actually picture them.
Yeah.
Because I was always like a lot of people would like get the tall boys and like just like down those things and like that was you really only need like one or two of those and you're like feeling yourself.
What about you though? What's a drunk story, maybe non gravel related, abandoned car wash that comes to mind?
I mean, for me, I've had plenty of drunk occasions, plenty of drunk stories. But the one I thought would be kind of funny to tell or like surprising to tell that maybe some people don't know was when I got into that fight in Wrigleyville at the Cubs Sox game, which I'm not super proud of, but I mean it happens, you know. Sometimes
Whatever.
sometimes it pops off. But that was like also one of the most like drunkest I've ever been, because we were like drinking all day. So I'll start the story.
Yeah.
So Dira and I, Yadira, my wife, my now wife, we were going
Super
to
cool.
the Cubs Sox game. What's up?
I just said super cool, but yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead.
we were like
Super,
we were chilling, you know,
yeah,
chilling.
yeah.
You know how it goes. We were going to the Cubs Sox game. She's also a big Cubs fan, just like me. Um, and we decided to take the train to Chicago from Naperville. So usually when you take the train, usually a lot of drinking occurs. So we decided to bring a water bottle full of vodka and just like Gatorade to like chase it with. So we're just sitting on the train, drinking, chilling, having a good time. Then we end up once we get to Chicago, take an Uber to the game. Just been drinking for a while. Once we got to the game, I think we had to like wait a little bit to get inside. So we just were at a bar that called HVAC, just to like chill, have like another drink before we actually go inside to the game. Because it was like the 120 game,
Mm.
and get in there, go to HVAC, have a drink. Then it's time to go to the game. Wait in line to get in. While we're there, obviously we're drinking more. But at the game, I switched it up to some beer. So I was drinking 312, and the only thing I had to eat was a hot dog at the game. So only thing all day so far, like 4 hours in, is a hot dog with a bunch of vodka and a lot of 312. So after the game, we go to this, I think the Cubby Bear, like right across the street from Wrigleyville, and a bartender that she knows, one of her friend's boyfriends works there, and so immediately gave us a free shot, like as soon as we walked in. Had a drink there, and then our buddy from high school, Chris Tejada,
Yep.
was bartending at this I forget the name of the bar, but he was bartending at a bar down the street from where we were. And he saw that I was in Chicago, so he's like, "Hey, come by, like I got you on drinks." I was like, "Oh, cool." So we go, it's like maybe like a 3-minute walk away from Cubby Bear.
Mm.
We go in there, and like I'm obviously feeling myself like kind of a little like woozy a little bit, but nothing too crazy. And we go in there, get a drink, but then he gives us a shot, like
Yeah.
like right away. And you know, like when you're drinking and like you have that one drink that just
Oh yeah.
sets you off.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so I take this shot. As soon as I finish the shot, I get the like almost couldn't swallow it feeling, and then I just like I was like, holy crap! I need to go outside. I need
Push
some
you
fresh
over.
air. Yeah, I just need to chill out. Go outside. End up puking on the street in front of all Wrigleyville. There's thousands of people walking down the streets or down the sidewalks after the Cubs Sox game. Cubs just got whooped, so people are drunk, getting pissed,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and literally just throwing up outside. Just literally in my own world. Literally don't know anything that's going on. And these three Sox fans come up to me, apparently, and just like start talking shit. And you know me, I don't really take shit talking very well, and
Nope.
especially I'm blacked out at this point. Like I don't really even. All I know is I'm throwing up. That's like mentally all I have going on. And they start talking shit to me, and then I'm literally 1 minute I am puking outside this bar in front of thousands, and then the next thing you know, I wake up, I come to, and I'm handcuffed. I'm like handcuffed. Like my head's just kind of pounding a little bit, and I'm just like, what the fuck?
You're like,
Is going
damn
on?
it.
I'm looking at Daryl like, what the hell happened? I was like, I was like, we were just drinking, and then I see this kid sitting, or not a kid, he was an adult,
Yeah.
sitting next to this police officer on the sidewalk. Just his nose is gushing blood, just gushing, and and I'm just like I said, I'm getting handcuffed. People are screaming, yelling. Deer is freaking out, doesn't know what's going on. And I think what happened is these guys were talking shit. I get up, probably would throw up, still dripping down my face, coming out my nose, probably. And I think what happened was I went up to this dude and just fucking headbutted him
Oh no.
because I didn't like my knuckles and stuff weren't cut up,
Yeah.
but I had blood splattered on my eyebrow and like on my forehead a little bit. And like this dude was just gushing blood out of his nose. So I was just like kind of putting two and two together. But like that was like the drunkenness I was in public. Like there's a difference between like being drunk at a party and
Yeah.
like being drunk in public in front of so many other people.
Mhm.
And it was like that was probably the most drunk I'd ever been in public, to where I didn't even care about throwing up on a Chicago street outside of a bar in Wrigley.
In front of everybody.
Dude, it was like very embarrassing, but I was the most confused I'd ever been, because I don't know what happened from me getting up and then from me having the handcuffs on. And that was crazy. One of the craziest days I've ever had in my life, for
The
sure.
the funny part, which like at the time obviously wasn't funny for you or your dear or anybody else. The funny part, just thinking about that now though, it's just like you having a process to like do the math, like throwing up in cuffs. Like, how did I get here? Okay, guy across the street has a lot of blood. I got blood on my face. I probably fucking headbutted him.
Yeah,
And then having to go down the list.
yeah, dude, I had to like literally piece it together, and like I wish I would have seen the tape and just seen what happened, because but like it was a basically a 3v1. Like I was getting kicked, I was getting like punched in the side of the head. I really had nothing on my face, but it was like my ribs and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I don't know who I thought I was. Like apparently I thought I was invincible, because I could have got stabbed. I could have
Anything.
yeah, dude.
Could have got like 8 dudes like could have jumped you or something
Yeah,
like that.
I
But
would-
that goes with you though, because I know through time like you've not been one to like take shit at all. But it's just funny that like just knowing how fucked up you are at the time, still somewhere in your brain you're like, I'm gonna fuck this guy up.
yeah. Yeah. Like
You
I
did.
know I'm blacked out, but I'm ready to fight.
Like, all right, we'll see about this right here. Like wiping the throw up off, like probably like spitting out something and then just throwing the headbutt.
Dude, crazy. And
All
like
right.
the most fucked up thing about it was, so I think I got processed at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
They didn't even give like I was in this like at the holding cell for a while, and like I was at the like downtown like in jail,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they didn't give me no water. Still had yet to eat a thing. Dira was coming when she when she was running out to like see what was going on. She had
Yeah.
a bag of food to go for us. So like,
Oh.
the food was there. I never got to eat it. People like walked all over it and shit. So like it was like I was like finishing being drunk in there, and I was hungover, and like just everything. It was the most dehydrated I've ever been. They didn't give a shit about me. It was crazy.
That's got to be painful watching the food just go to waste and probably going like fucking hours without having anything and being dehydrated in a cell. Probably felt like the longest like
Bro,
15 hours of your life.
I didn't get home till 6 a.m.
Jesus.
It was
Unreal.
brutal. Very
That's
brutal. But
that's for your birthday too, right?
huh?
Was that for your birthday or was that for
No,
something
it's a
else?
different Cubs game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that game there was no drama.
No headbutts.
That was good. We almost lost Fontaine, but there was no drama.
It's kind of typical of Fontaine. We'll have to have him on the show sometime. I'll have to have him on to talk about like our first Infinity Gauntlet draft where he just like disappeared to go
But
eat
yeah,
tacos. Like
he just like
just eat
silently
tacos.
just walks away or just like and then doesn't tell no one nothing. And then he's just gone.
Yeah. So kind of related to drinking a little bit, but we had your bachelor party. Obviously, it happens before your wedding. Happened before the wedding. There's a handful of guys that went on it. It was a cool trip to Michigan. We had this Airbnb, which was like super cool because it looked small, but like all the rooms were like good sized. It was a weird place because it's just so deceptive. And we played bags. I didn't really know how to play bags until like a month afterwards. Played bags. I tried to do cool things other people were doing that I normally don't a little bit more. And,
Like
you know,
what?
yeah, just like random stuff, and then we ended up, I do want to talk about one piece of it though, because I want to get your grasp on Detroit because we took a 45-minute drive
Mhm.
ish from where we were in, where were we at again?
Ann
Uh,
Arbor.
Ann Arbor. I was going to say Grand Rapids. I don't know why. Ann Arbor.
We were supposed to go
Oh,
initially.
yeah. That's why I got it twisted. But we like 45 minutes to Detroit. So we were like in the city of Detroit. And I want to get your opinion on Detroit and what happened down there, just because personally, not to like give too much away about it, but it was very, very interesting being downtown at night because there were people like everywhere. There was people on every corner. There was people with no shirts on. A lot of sketchy looking corners and areas, but also like probably the most cops I've ever seen in my life in one area. It was interesting.
Yeah, it was the most like almost sketchy looking, but like it was almost like organized, but like
Yeah,
organized sketchiness. It was like there was tons of people everywhere, but there was also, like you said, cops everywhere. So like it almost made people like kind of stay in line, but it was
yeah,
still kind of crazy because there was just a lot of shit going on.
yeah.
But I thought like so a few years ago I'd been to Detroit for a work trip, and it was my first time out there, and I thought it was pretty cool because like obviously Detroit kind of has that stigma of like it's a shit city, like it's
Yeah, yeah.
dirty. There's like the people aren't the greatest, but like I think it was kind of like almost like a blessing in disguise type thing
Uh-huh.
because it kind of fit like what we were still trying to do, but just like with a different type of like view of like what we're used to. So like because obviously like in like Plainfield or Naperville, like there's not as much I would say like sidewalk or street traffic like
Yeah,
there
yeah.
was. Like there's still a lot, but like not like it was there.
No.
And it was kind of cool though because like there was stuff everywhere. So like we kind of like the part of Detroit that we were in was a decent spot, I thought, just because of like the availability of like what we were like being shown. Like the casino, I didn't even know that there was that casino that was going to be there, and the thing was huge.
Yeah, huge, huge. It was
Like,
like old looking, but it was massive.
yeah, and so like it was like I wasn't sure really how to feel about it, but I think it was our best choice in terms of like the nightlife or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
to kind of like get that vibe and like kind of get that feel of like just being out in the city and going out for the nightlife type stuff.
Yeah, I never felt like so sketched out, but also like safe at the same point. Like
Yeah, exactly. Like it was almost like I'm not sure what to do, but I feel like I can do everything.
yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. Like I feel like someone might rob me, but also like there's a cop right next to me holding my
Yeah.
hand.
Like the cop might rob me, but I'm not sure.
The guys might stop the cops from committing a crime to me. Like
Yeah, I think the
come after
cops are
that.
bad guys because they look worse.
Yeah. So I mean, it was good. We went to the casino, went to like a dance place and stuff like that down there. We had like 30 minutes at that place before it closed, so that was
Yeah,
crazy.
that was crazy. We were on a mission to get there, and it was actually like a decent like spot too. Like it
Yeah,
wasn't like
yeah.
a like dirty or like trashy.
No,
Like
no.
it was pretty decent, and it was like, and I've also heard like the last 30 minutes or like the last hour is like the best time to be there. I don't
Uh-huh.
know why. I've heard that, but I don't know. But like it was a good time, and it was hilarious because on the ride home, I think you and the other guys slept
Oh yeah,
the whole way
for
home
sure,
because my
for sure.
brother drove home because I couldn't drive because I was a little out of it, I would
Yeah,
say. And
yeah.
but it was crazy because we like stayed at the casino for a while because a lot of us were like winning money. Like I won a
Huh.
few or a couple hundred like immediately. The first time I sat down within 10 minutes, I think I won like $200. And Max was winning. I think he won like 400 playing the roulette.
Yeah, yeah,
And then Breezy was winning a little bit. My brother won. I don't, did you win some?
yeah. Like
Sure.
600. No, no. I think I lost like $20 or $40 or some shit. No, I never win. I never win. I was about to stunt though on it. Yeah, it was funny. We had like 30 minutes left of that place we went to, and they're like, it's $20, but you got like 30 minutes. So everybody was like doing their own thing. I just remember talking to the one waitress, super cool. She had a tray of shots, and she's like, I got to get rid of these shots. Do you want to do like a shot with me? And I was like, oh, absolutely. Like she's like super nice, super, pretty attractive. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do one. And I like, I'm going to take one. And she's like, oh, well, it's like $10. I'm like, oh, you fucking made it seem like you're just like hooking me up here. But she's like,
I thought you said you were giving me a shot.
don't take these ones over here, though. They're fake. And I'm like, damn, they be doing that shit at places like that. At least she told me what was fake and what was not. But it was fun. It was fun. But just to cap it off, obviously your wedding was great. The venue was awesome. Getting ready in the morning, we had a good time just hanging out and bullshitting about sports and having mimosas and stuff like that. Witnessing you write your vows in person and everything. Super nice reception outside and everything. Great time, great people. I gotta ask, how does it feel to be married? Like, do you have a different feel to it? Do you feel like stronger, or like smarter, or like wise? I mean, like, how does it feel to be married now? Because I've known you
I would
forever, so
I would say like things kind of feel a little bit more complete.
yeah,
Like obviously like with like being engaged and like, having a fiance, like it's similar to like being married, but I think like when you're actually married, like everything just kind of like it really solidifies like every decision you make or like everything you do is kind of like in regard to the other person as well. So like it's almost like you can't really, not that you can't, but you
mhm,
it's harder to like think about for your just for yourself. So you can have
yeah,
like every decision or like everything that you do is like, oh, I have to like take her feelings in consideration too. So, but it feels good because it feels just way more secure and like way more just like there's really not as many worries or anything like that. Like I
yeah.
wonder if she's like if she doesn't want to get married, like is she gonna back out? Is she gonna get
Too
cold
late.
feet? Like just stuff like that, and then
Yeah,
it kind of just like solidifies everything together. I would say.
yeah, yeah. And again, awesome wedding. You guys are a great couple, and it definitely was an honor, a privilege to be part of it as a groomsman, and something I'll always remember, and glad to have done that. Getting close to like 50-ish minutes here, so I want to close off the show talking because you and I talk fantasy all the time, side conversations in group chats. We were in group chats today, bullshitting about stuff. I want to bring up fantasy though. You and I are like, I would say closest thing I could think of to rivals, just because we always seem to find each other in a semifinal. We play each other in different leagues all the time. And we just kind of have that like friendship, but also rivalry when it comes to fantasy. But I want to leave you and I out of it. And I know that we play in some similar leagues. We play in leagues that, we don't play together in. And there's always those people in fantasy that you don't want to lose to. And it could be for whatever reason. Like you hate to lose to these people. And I want to hear go 3, 2, 1. And we're going to leave each other out of this. Who do you hate to lose to the most? And give me like a quick reason why.
I got you. Okay. So I would say I'll try to go like kind of in order of like
Sure.
least to most. So I would say for number 3 would be who would be Steve Catalano.
Yeah.
Just because him and I have been in leagues for like I would say like 5 or 6 years at least. So like, and we play in like super competitive leagues, and like he takes it really serious, I take it really serious, and like we just kind of have that like just that competitiveness on in fantasy, and it's just like it's almost like obviously it's just like bragging rights. So it's always like, yeah, like blah blah blah, but I beat you in fantasy.
Yeah.
So it's like, and it's just like because he uses it against me and I'll use it against him, and it's just like that constant battle of like you always have that like upper hand if you were to beat them, or if you're to lose to them, it's like shit. Now I'm gonna get all this. I'm gonna hear about it for at least a week, and it's just like I just can't stand it. So he's not like as bad as some of the other guys, but he's definitely up there because because I know he's also like kind of in the like the space and everything, and like there's a lot of like fantasy stuff. So it feels good to beat someone who like truly does care about it.
Yeah,
like that's I think
that makes
sense.
sense.
Like better like people to beat,
versus like people that are just kind of casuals, or it's like that time of year. I know Steve like really into it, so it kind of means more when you're like, hey, I know this means something to you.
Yeah, it's not like it's better than like I don't give a shit, like it's just fantasy, but like it's for him it's like he beat me, or like fuck him, I don't want to lose to him, like shit like that.
Yeah,
Then,
I'll just you know what, we'll go back and forth. I'll go to my third. In my third, I'm going to go with kind of similar, but our buddy Thor. I'm going to mention him just because in our BMF league, him and I have been in the finals back-to-back years. He won it this year. I won it the year prior, and we are very competitive when it comes to trading and trying to make our teams as good as possible. We kind of did that in the gauntlet as well, but losing to Thor always kind of stings hard. So I'm gonna pick him as my third.
yeah, he was a consideration for me for sure, but like I just I don't get like the as much of like the fuck like if it happens because like for him and I, like we play more in like dynasty leagues, so it's more so like redraft kind of is a little bit more like kind of that like super competitiveness, because like obviously in other in like dynasty and stuff, like I could be like, or he could be rebuilding and I could be like pushing for a ship like type stuff, so like not as like competitive because like, oh well, I mean like it was kind of over before it started type stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, but like I definitely I get it because I know that BMF ship was highly competitive.
It was sad, but it is what it is. Who you got at number 2?
Number 2, I think you know this guy pretty well. It's your brother, Anthony. Obviously, I mean, I know I don't really have to explain much in terms of like how competitive he is because I know you know.
Yes.
But like me and him, like we always like no matter what it is, because he's definitely one of the most competitive people I know, and I'm sure you know. And it's just there's always that like fieriness about it because I know I don't want to lose to him, and I know he doesn't want to lose to me, and especially with the circumstances that have happened as of recent.
Oh yeah.
Due to the last game of the NFL season, but yeah, it's never a good feeling because like it's like similar to Steve because then they like when you're with them be like, yeah, but I beat your ass in fantasy this week, and like it's just like one of those people. It's like motherfucker, like
always.
It just burns. You know what I mean? Like, but what I love about it though, at the same time, like it's not all hate at all. but like I just because I love competition. So like
Yeah.
I love the way it makes me feel because it's like I want to win. I know he wants to win. So if I win, it feels good. If I lose, it sucks. But it's like either way, like that competitiveness is there, and I just like it always sucks to lose to him, but it's always like in good fun for sure.
Yeah, he's my number one. He's my number one just because obviously me and him are very close and we're brothers. So like he'll make sure to message me as soon as or text me as soon as he's won something. Like it doesn't even matter if I've like beat his ass like 3 times during the year. If he beat me the one time, he'll be sure to text me. And because of that, I make sure I do the same shit to him
Mhm.
and make sure that he knows that I beat him. But he's been a guy that can definitely get under your skin when it comes to fantasy. He's done it to not just you and I, but other people before, and he's very bold with what he says. And were you surprised he crowned you the champ after all that controversy?
Honestly, I was, but like I'm like it really showed a lot about him because
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
that's a huge thing to do, like because I know he's not like the type of person to like think like when he like has a
To
definitive
think,
huh.
I'm like just to think and just leave it
Yeah,
at that.
he's not really a person to think much. But like, but you know what I mean? Like when he wants to do something a certain way, that's usually how it's going to stay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so like I wasn't not that I was like hoping that he would. I mean, obviously I was kind of a little hoping, but I mean, really showed me like it gave me a lot of respect for him. Not that I didn't have respect for him before,
No,
but
yeah,
like
yeah,
a
yeah,
lot more just because like that's huge because like no one wants to like concede that way,
yeah,
like
yeah.
hey, like unfortunately you're gonna be the champ, like stuff like that. Like I had to do it in the league. I had to concede when I possibly could have like came back, and it's
Uh-huh.
never fun. Like especially if you have that competitive edge the way we do, it's like that's never something you want to do. But it was really big, and I applaud him for doing that.
Especially when it's literally 17 weeks of um getting after and trying to win a championship. It's not just like a couple week thing. It's literally you all off season trying to get ready for it. 17 weeks of football, and then you come to that conclusion. It's like, oh shit, of course it happens like this. But my he was my number one, so I'll just say my number two. My number two is Colton, just because he is extremely annoying when it comes to playing him in anything. Like he'll text me, 7 minutes into a matchup and be like, are you nervous? Because one of his players just like caught a 30-yard pass, or he'll be like, oh, it doesn't look good for you, or like this was easy for me, or he'll like look at a trade from 6 months ago and be like, remember when you sent me this trade? Thank you so much for all these giveaways. Like he just gives me shit like nonstop all the time. And it's always when I don't expect it. I'm just like sitting at the office. I wake up in the morning. I'm like at the gym. I'm like trying to play with my daughter Mila, and I get a text from Colton about something with fantasy. It's never a good thing. So he gets under my skin a lot at number two. And Anthony was your number two. So I want to, as we cap this off, who's your number one? You can't stand losing to them.
This one, I can just I feel it. You know what I mean? Like it just I feel like I'm losing right now, but I'm not because it doesn't happen. But
Take a
you
deep
know
breath.
him a little bit too, but it's breezy. Bring that motherfucker, dude. If you lose to him, it's you will literally never hear the end of it. Even if like he could be 0-12, he beats you, you're his first win of the season. He will make you feel like you're the world's biggest piece of shit for losing to him because he just I mean, it's hysterical the way he goes about it, but it's like when you beat him, it's the complete opposite. Like he gets like super like, oh, like blah blah blah, like just tries to make all these excuses, all the like this and that. But like when he beats you, man, you don't hear the end of it, and it drives me up a wall because he in the chats will just make you feel like you just did the worst thing you could possibly do
Of course.
ever, and it's just like bro, like it's like he makes you feel like bro, it's just a game,
Oh yeah, yeah.
but like it's some serious shit. And I love the guy to death, obviously, but it's like there was a stretch we that travel league that we all play in.
Yeah, yeah.
There was a stretch for like 2 or 3 years where I beat him every time, and we played like twice a year. And I was always talking shit, like just going about it, but he like wouldn't really react too much to it. Like
Yeah.
obviously he didn't like it, but then he would be like when he beats me though, it's like talked about for a long time. Sent like similar to Colton, like sends me like, hey, remember when I beat your ass, or hey, remember when you sucked at fantasy this week, or like and like he says stuff to get under your skin, and he knows he's going to, but that's just what he's good at.
Yeah, and it's funny because I got to meet him in person through your bachelor party and then wedding, and I saw at least one interaction with you two kind of going at it. So I kind of picture what it would be like in the fantasy world when it comes.
Yeah,
to
the glass blunt or whatever.
It was him. We were waking him up to
Yeah,
go.
and he wanted to smoke.
Oh yeah.
And like I was like, if you smoke
forth.
that blunt, we're not friends.
Yeah, just like very, very dramatic at the time, even though it took like 4 guys to wake his ass up from just like napping or something like that.
Yeah,
But
he's one of the most like argumentative people in the world, but I love him. I love him to death. But losing to him is the complete worst because you just don't hear the end of it.
and I could tell like the way you guys went back and forth, he knows how to like kind of push your buttons a little bit, because it wasn't like he just like wrote, he didn't just raise his voice and yell about something. He like the way he was saying certain things to you. I'm like, these guys, this ain't their first time getting going after it. But yeah, that'll do it for this episode, guys. So obviously, Collin, great friend of mine. Really appreciate you coming on the show, man. Any closing thought as we wrap this up, this episode 4?
Man,
Put you on the spot, of course.
No, it's fine. Well, obviously, with the conclusion of football and fantasy season, it was a great ride, a lot of fun. But I'm definitely excited to see what this next year brings, especially like with us and like especially with you, because I know it's going to be like a different ride this year. So I'm always grateful for you, always wishing the best, hoping for the best for you. And I know you're like one of the hardest working people I know. So I think I close it off just being appreciative of you and our friendship, and just like I just hope everything goes as well as it can for you this year, and for years to come, because you're fucking awesome and you deserve nothing but the best.
Appreciate that, bro. It means a lot. Going through some things and shit like that, but life's swinging up, in all honesty, and I'm glad you and I have stayed super close through these times. But thank you guys for listening. That'll do it for Stick to the Script, episode 4. Tell your friends about it.
Peace.